Hello and welcome to another Tabitha's Glass Emporium YouTube video, and a happy Christmas to everyone out there from everyone here. Today I wanted to show you this fantastic little project. I got this from IKEA. Whenever I go to the shops, I'm always looking at kind of things and ideas to change and add glass to, so like lanterns and anything I can find, and I saw this and went, wow, that is the perfect glass project. So my idea is I take out these, I use them as templates, and I'm going to make glass trees and a glass house to put in here instead of the plastic ones. And I think this will be a fantastic project. So you can kind of put anything in the stand you want. You can make trees any which way you fancy, just sort of straight triangles. You could take a triangle like this that is easy to cut and tack if you use this on. You need to make sure your glass fits in the slit. I want to kind of actually sort of quite like these sort of funny shapes. So I'm lucky I have a Taurus and a tile saw, although my Taurus isn't working very well, so I'm going to have to do this on a tile saw. I'm just going to literally take the ones that come with the IKEA one and use them as templates, and there's 7 of them in all, and you can also you can put 7 on, you can put 2 on, you can put as many or as little as you want, and then I'm going to do that. And the same with the house, I'll also draw around that and use that as a template, and then I will cut those on a saw. But as I said, if you don't have a saw, it's much harder to cut into these shapes. You have to be very, very good at cutting to get this to run without the whole thing running out. When we first tried this, we tried to just literally cut it here and here and here, and then run them here, and they were just breaking. So we'll cut the whole, we can cut the tips off, but then we'll cut the rest of the shape all on the saw. So cutting these, if you don't have a saw, you won't be able to cut them like this, and we'll just show you a quick way of doing them without kind of fancy tree shapes. If you've got a Taurus, you can do it on a Taurus. My Taurus is not working very well at the moment, so I'm going to do it on my tile saw. And I'm going to show you how. Basically, as soon as I start using the tile saw and getting water anywhere near these lines go. So I'm going to quickly notch the edges where I need to cut into. And then it's also the notches I can kind of feel with my fingers, so when I'm doing the trunk, I can feel them. So I will do notches, then the trunk, then I will cut in from here and this side to the trunk, here to the here. Do the same in each one, and then I'll cut this bit. So of course, while I'm doing it, you're not going to be able to hear me. If I think of anything while I'm doing it, I will stop the saw to tell you. Okay, here goes. Now, just a quick thing, I always go from bottom to top, because when I went from top to bottom I got myself confused and I ended up cutting the wrong bit off the tree. So I find it easier going from bottom to top. I'm just going to show you one other little thing. So this, you can kind of break out, but now you've got this messy edge here. You can use the tile saw, if Miller can zoom in on here. This is a good way of using a tile saw. I'm not sure if you can see that I was running the glass along the saw like this, and you can use tile saws not only to cut, but also this edge is covered in diamonds too, and you can kind of use that to grind a bit, and I use it a lot to grind. I'm going to cut the rest of this now and I'll show you when it's finished. So the corners are kind of like this. To get them out, I sort of hold the glass off a bit. So you need to think of your colour schemes here. These are all white. Do you want to go and keep with white, or do you want to keep with green and make them all green and then decorate them? That's kind of up to you. I've decided to go for each different tree having a different colour, and I'm going to put a different murrine on each one, so that I've got a bit of kind of contrast. That's what I wanted to give it a go. So I've chosen like 7 different murrines and 7 different powders, and now I'm going to kind of put them down. So put your masks on if you're using powder, please. And yes, you should have paper under to reclaim. So I'm going to put quite a thick layer of powder down. We're talking about kind of you want a good kind of few mil of powder to get good saturation. This is Neo Lavender I'm using here. And then I'm going to put some stringers down. I've just got some scrappy these are scrap pink stringers. And then I'm going to put some of these on, and that's one way of doing it, is like this. Another way you could do it is you could take your powder, put it down again quite thickly. This one I'm using here is a plum striker. Sorry, Sandra's making a lot of noise in the background, Sandra.
Sorry.
And then you can use something to make patterns in it. So like kind of this one over here, you got the holes. You could just sort of also sort of do lines. These have got to go on quite a light tack fuse. You need to make sure that your glass is going to fit in the slits provided. So I've made sure that that will fit safely, securely in there. And it fits nicely and snugly, but it's not going to be too thick. But if we overfire it, as you know, the edge will roll up a bit, and then it's going to become a bit too thick to fit in the hole. You could always then kind of cut the end off, but I still think... So I want to make sure I'm not going too much thicker, particularly on the trunk area than there. So there's a couple of different ideas of how you could decorate the trees. I'm going to kind of add to what I'm doing here, and when I'm done I'll show you where we're at. So for the house we need to think about much more of what area is slotting into the wood. With the trees we didn't need to worry because I made sure we didn't put anything on the trunk. So I've kind of drawn a line and said, below the line will be in slotting into the wood, and then I need to kind of adjust accordingly. So I've made a couple of templates for the window and the door. I'm going to shift mine along a bit so I can fit a little Christmas tree in. I've seen some fantastic gingerbread houses that people are doing kind of out there at the moment, and you might want to think about, making this like a gingerbread house. So I'm going to put this like that, and I'm going to put my mask back on, and I decided I like this kind of red colour, so I'm going to make my house red and then kind of go from there. So a bit of red using paper to reclaim this time. And giving it good covering. I'm going all the way down to the bottom. It doesn't matter, a little bit of powder on the bottom. 3mm fits nicely, but there's a bit of wiggle room. So a nice layer of powder on, and then I've just got to lift these up as carefully as I can. And now I'm going to kind of go around and sort of put some more details on. So I'm going to start with the Christmas tree. And I'm actually getting Miller to do this because, guys, I am so tired during this Christmas period that my hands are too shaky. And the first time we tried to film this, it was a disaster. So I've called in the best pair of hands in the studio, Miller. And she's going to put the things on for me. Oop. So obviously the filming goes to pot then because she's a better filmer than me. So we're just adding a little kind of 3 little white stringers onto the Christmas tree. And then we've got some of our mini mix, which is a mini flower mix we do. When we're pulling canes of flowers, we pull some really skinny ones. And this we sell in kind of mixed slices or cane. So we're just putting some of these on. And you know, it would be much easier to fire the powder and then add the detail, but you know us, we do one firing wonders, so it makes our life a little bit harder getting things on without shifting the powder around. And there we go, nice few little murrine. They are tricky to pick these up. I think we just cut some of this out as well. Put some on top of it.
What? Just one more.
Perfect. So now the window, going to put some black stringers. Now we've used 2mm for the frame and then 0.5mm for the crossbars. And then next we're going to do the door. So I'm going to put a little bit of gel glue down when I'm putting the door down just to hold it in place. And I've decided to use some of our brown landscape lines to look like kind of the wooden kind of bits of the door. And they also got a bit of transparency in them, so a bit of light will shine through. And then with the original door there was a heart, and so we decided we're just going to put a little heart. It's a tricky little heart, doesn't want to come. On the door too. And then we just might add some of these red and white sort of candy canes just to sort of make it a bit more Christmassy. That's perfect. I'm now going to put it in the kiln, and I want to add some frit at the top to be the kind of smoke coming out of the chimney. So I'll put it in the kiln and then I'll show you how to do that. So here they are already in the all the Christmas trees are done, and the house is ready in the kiln. What I'm just going to do is, as I said, add some frit here to sort of be the smoke coming out of the chimney. I'm putting some grey down first, and then I'm going to just put some clear irid frit on top, just to kind of add that little bit of extra something. And then the last thing I want to add is on the roof, just a little bit of white, so it's like kind of snow on the roof. So I think that's job done. So that will go in on a very light tack fuse. And as I said, to be really careful that you don't go too hot with this, and know your kilns. I'll give you a firing schedule, but if your kiln goes hotter than mine, you've got to watch out, because you do not want the glass to roll up too much at the edges if you go hotter, because it will then not slot into the wood. So do watch that, and we'll see how it looks when it comes out. So here's the finished piece. I love it. I think it's come out brilliantly. I really like all the different coloured trees, but I think it would also look fantastic if they were all the kind of same colour. The decorations look great. I think the house came out even better than I thought. I love the red, and the smoke was really fun. And yeah, I think it's a really, really fun piece. Now, if you can't get this from IKEA, because you may not be able to get the original thing, you could, if you're very technical, you could make it with the lights, with little LEDs, but also, you know, just get a carpenter to route you some wood. Now, the only issue is that, as I said before when we were making it, is that if you go too warm, the glass rolls up, and it has already rolled up, and as you can see, getting them in is much trickier. So you just have to kind of do a bit of a wiggle, and as you see, the house isn't actually gone all the way down to the bottom. But it does mean they're nicely tightly in, which I think is also kind of good as well. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and if you have, please subscribe.